If a customer asks you for a discount at renewal and your stomach drops a little bit, then this episode is for you because we are talking about something super spicy and probably not talked about in customer success often enough. And it's how to actually handle customers that ask for a discount in renewal. Because again, we don't talk about this because it's the uncomfortable truth, but the renewal discount conversation, it's one of the biggest make or break moments in your customer success career. And it's not because of the money, by the way, but it's because of what it actually signals. It signals how you have positioned value all year long. It signals how confidently you have been in your commercial conversations and handling commercial conversations. And it signals whether you have been operating like a support rep or a revenue leader. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Anika Zubair, and welcome to the Customer Success Pro podcast, your go-to space for real talk, expert advice, and actionable insights in the world of customer success. I'm a CS executive leader, award-winning strategist, CS coach, and customer success fanatic. I help CSMs and CS leaders build the skills and the confidence to become revenue-driving pros and scale world-class CS teams. So whether you're brand new to CS or a seasoned leader, this podcast is here to support your growth. Because customer success isn't a destination, it's a journey. And I'm here to be your guide and navigate every step of your journey. So join me every Wednesday where you'll get fresh CS tips, tricks, and strategies you can actually use. Some weeks I'll share my own insights and best practices from working in CS over the last 13 years. And once a month, I'll bring on expert guests to dive into the most relevant and pressing topics in customer success today. So if you're ready to level up, hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in, and let's make your CS journey a little bit easier together. And today I am going to teach you how to exactly handle a renewal discount request without panicking and without folding under the pressure and without damaging the relationship. Because like I said, a discount has nothing to do with the price. It actually has everything to do with the value that your customer sees in your product and or service. And let's zoom out for a second and let's actually talk about the past 2 years, right? We have seen massive layoffs across all of SaaS, right? No one has been protected from a layoff or restructure, whether you've been at big organizations like Microsoft or LinkedIn, or even at smaller startups and scale-ups that have just failed to launch, right? There have been layoffs across the board. Heck, I have been part of restructures and layoffs myself. But companies like Salesforce, Meta, and Google have all publicly tightened budgets and reduced their spend. And every single CFO right now is looking at every line item in their profit and loss statement. And guess what? Your software subscription, it's a line item. It is a line item. It is nothing more than a line item of spend for your customer's budget, right? So when a customer is asking for a discount, it's not always because they don't like you. Please don't think that. I really do know that as customer success professionals, we take things a little bit personally because we think our customers, because we built a strong rapport and relationships with our customers, we think that if a customer pushes back, if they ask for a discount, if they start to really doubt the value of your product, it somehow is tied back to your personal worth and your personal execution as a customer success professional. And I'm here to tell you, it's nothing to do with you, okay? As much as we like to think it is, it really isn't. It's not that your customers don't like you or that they don't think that you've done a great job as their customer success manager. They are asking for a discount for another reason. And it's not always because they're unhappy. It's usually because finance or someone in the finance or procurement team has told them to reduce spend by 10% across the board. And this is honestly the world that we are operating in today. This is the norm, by the way, in 2026. And I think For the next few years, at least in SaaS, we are going to see this as the norm where we have to do more with less. We have to budget and tighten the budget even more. And this means that we cannot take discount requests personally because it really has nothing to do with us. But at the same time, we cannot also just blindly agree to them because we are just leaving money on the table every single time as a customer success professional. You say, okay, let me check with my manager if that discount is possible, or let me see if my executive team will allow for such a large discount, right? Every single time we allow our customers to lead a discount conversation in a renewal conversation, we are letting them take the lead. And I know that as you're listening to this podcast episode, you probably got an email in your inbox saying something like, given the budget constraints this year, we are going to need a 20% discount in order to move forward with this renewal. Or even worse, they say it live on a call, because I have had it both ways. I have had customers email me saying they need a discount. I have had customers literally drop a bomb in the middle of a business review or a value realization call where they are honestly asking for a discount. And it feels like it's out of left field. And instantly you are starting to feel a lot of pressure, right? And the pressure is to save the logo. The pressure is to protect your retention rate. The pressure is because your manager is asking for a clean round of renewals and even growth from your accounts. They're not asking for reductions or discounts. And this pressure is because you basically don't want churn on your books. And I get it. I've been there. I know how that feels. And I know that you're probably sitting and listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube and thinking, how do I actually alleviate some of this pressure? What can I actually do as a customer success professional to make sure discounts do not become the main theme of every renewal conversation? And what ends up happening is most customer success professionals either immediately escalate to their sales team or to their AEs or to their account managers, and they say, hey, they want a discount. Can we approve it or can you take it forward, right? Or maybe they actually respond to the customer and they say something along the lines like, hey, customer, I understand. Let me see what I can do. And that is where your first and biggest mistake happens, by the way, because the second you start to treat a discount request as a price problem, you've already lost the value conversation. If you've told your customers, let me check, or let me run this by my manager, or let me loop in my sales team, you might as well just give the discount at this point. And again, I know I'm sounding harsh, and I hope you guys realize I love to be harsh and direct with you all because I want to see you succeed. So I give you a bit of tough love. But the honest truth is the second you accept a discount conversation or at least try to entertain it with your manager or your sales team, there's no amount of value that you can prove at this point, right? And I keep seeing this mistake happen, and there are many more mistakes. And I just want to cover a few other mistakes as well before we kind of jump into how to solve this problem. And a number of mistakes that I end up seeing is the first one, which I kind of alluded to at the very top of this episode, is that the reason why a discount comes up during a renewal conversation is because you did not talk about value throughout the entire year. And I know that's easier said than done, but I talk about value every single episode on this podcast. And I talk about value in every email, every call, and every single time I have an interaction with a customer. Because it is our responsibility to remind our customers that value happens all year long. Not just at a renewal, not just 3 months or 6 months out from a renewal. I know we all have our beautiful playbooks where we go step by step, and I'm not saying to throw the playbook away, but I'm saying that you need to show value every step of the way. And if your QBRs were just feature updates, and if your calls were just check-ins with your customers, and if your success plan was built in onboarding and never revisited, then when a renewal comes around, the only conversation or the only lever your customer is going to talk about is price, because you never made ROI super clear to your customer every single day that you had with them while they were onboarding, while they were using new features, while they were going through a business review with you. Quick pause from today's episode, because if you are listening to this episode and thinking, my team needs this, well, this is for you, because Let's be super real and honest, and let's just call this out. Most customer success teams are busy, busy, busy. Calendars are double, triple, quadruple booked. Calls are happening back to back to back, and emails are flying everywhere. But renewals still feel super stressful, upsells feel super random, and proving ROI and value feels harder than it honestly should. And your team might know the theory of being strategic, but in the moment, on a live customer call, they end up defaulting back to updates, features, and check ins. Now imagine something different. Your customer success managers walk into renewal conversations already aligned on outcomes, confidently identifying expansion opportunities through white space analysis, and telling clear ROI stories that connect product usage to real business impact. Forecasting renewals and upsells with clarity instead of that guesswork that we all do every day. That is exactly why we at the Customer Success Pro team have built out team workshops. These are hands-on tactical and practical sessions where your team brings real accounts, real agendas, real renewal scenarios, and we work through them together. From value-led conversations to strategic discovery to ROI storytelling and upsell identification, your team will leave these workshops with practical frameworks that they can apply immediately. And if you're ready to turn your customer success team into a revenue engine, then go ahead and head over to thecustomersuccesspro.com/team-event and let's talk about designing a workshop for your team. All right, let's get back into the episode. And that leads me on to another mistake that I see happen too often is I see a lot of customer success pros negotiate against themselves. And negotiation is a skill, it's a tactic, it's not something that's easy, by the way. It is a battle conversation, by the way. Negotiation is a back and forth, and a lot of times customer success professionals don't like it because it is confrontational and it is uncomfortable, right? And when we hear the sentence from our customers saying, we need a discount, and you respond with, all right, maybe we can do 10%. Hang on, what? They asked for 20 and you offered 10 and there was no negotiation. There was no pushback. There was no discussion of outcomes. And that is basically fear-based selling. You're trying to just meet them halfway, right? And I need you to stop doing that because you don't know if 20 is enough. You don't know 10 is enough. You probably don't realize that they are okay paying the full price for your product and service. But like I said earlier, what they've been given by their CFO is an overall budget. Their CFO said, hey, this year we can only spend $100,000 on software or maybe 1 million on software. Whatever the number is, it doesn't matter, right? The CFO doesn't care how that 1 million or 100,000 is spent, right? That is up to the budget holder to decide I'm going to spend 10,000 on certain tools. I'm going to spend 20,000 on CRMs. I'm going to spend 50,000 on a community. Whatever it is, they get to correctly allocate out that $100,000, right? But what you've just done by offering that instant 10% is you've already started selling yourself short and you've just negotiated against yourself. And I just hope you realize that you need to negotiate against other tools, not against yourself, right? And before I jump deeper into that, let's talk about another mistake that I keep seeing happen. And I keep seeing people in customer success end up failing to correctly diagnose, right? A discount request is not a statement. It is a symptom of a problem, okay? Is the problem that adoption is low? Or maybe the problem is an executive sponsor actually left the business and the new sponsor is not seeing value. Or maybe they're underusing a key feature or module within your product, right? Or maybe it's just procurement simply doing their job, right? And if you do not diagnose, you cannot respond strategically, right? You need to ask the right questions to figure out where is this discount actually coming from? And another thing I see that we do really, really poorly is we end up detaching from revenue ownership. And I said this already at the beginning. Whenever we hear discount, we're like, sales, please come help us. Or or passing it on to my account management team, and you think this is not my job, this is a sales job, or this is someone else's job. Now, if you really want to be seen as strategic, if you really want to be seen as someone who is a revenue-minded, strategic, focused customer success professional, then this is your job. A tough negotiation is exactly your job because a renewal is a sale. And if you are responsible for renewals as a customer success professional, you are selling, which means you are negotiating, which means you need to really practice how you have these negotiation conversations. And your job is not to actually approve the discount, but it is to lead the value conversation. Now, we've talked about a lot of different things that could be going wrong, things that you probably are nodding your head to as you listen to this podcast thinking, dang it, that's exactly what I do and I want to stop doing that. All right, that's what I'm here to help you with. That is what this podcast is made to help you with. What should you be doing instead? Well, first step, slow down. Right? Like we are running a mile a minute in customer success. We think we have to jump from discount to negotiation to finding the perfect answer in that 1 30-minute call that we have around renewal and pricing, right? If they actually ask for a discount, do not respond, right? Like do not respond instantly and react instantly. Like take your time to actually think things through and respond. And if your customer is asking for a discount, I would personally say, I appreciate you sharing that. Can you help me understand what is driving this discount request, right? Be neutral, be curious, be calm and collected, and really ask the right question back to them. Then next, I really need you to start clarifying the root cause of this because again, discounts isn't actually a money problem, right? We need to figure out what the problem is really here. We need to diagnose correctly. Is this a budget pressure from the CFO or the procurement team? Is this perceived lack of value? Did maybe they didn't get it while they were using your product, right? Or maybe this is like a sales usage mismatch. Maybe they were missold on something, or maybe there was a misunderstanding in how the usage of this product should actually come to fruition, right? You need to start asking questions like, what goals are your top priorities for you this year? How are you evaluating the impact of our platform internally? What would make this renewal feel like a no-brainer to you? If your renewal was due tomorrow, would you renew? Like these are the questions you want to be asking regularly to your customers because now that you are shifting the conversation from price to outcomes because you're really trying to diagnose correctly and you're really trying to get to the root cause of what this discount conversation is really about. Step 3, okay? I want you to anchor in and really focus in on ROI. I know I've said it a million times on this podcast, but it's so important in 2026 and beyond, by the way, because every company in the world is focused on revenue growth. And if they are spending money, which all companies spend money, right? They want to make sure they're getting a positive return on investment or ROI. And this is where value storytelling really matters, right? Instead of defending your price, you have to really start to quantify impact, right? Like, and an example of how I would do this is I would say something along the lines like, hey, customer, for the past 12 months, your team has increased adoption by 37% and reduced onboarding time by 2 weeks and drove over $1.2 million in influence revenue tied to the workflows that we implemented 6 months ago, right? You make it inevitable. You make the invisible visible to your customers and you make ROI super simple so that they can see exactly what their return on investment is. And if they cannot see ROI, they will negotiate the price. I'm telling you right now, it'll be normal. So if you aren't talking ROI and if you aren't using the statements that I just said in this podcast episode, please be prepared to have a price negotiation, okay? I'm just being honest with you. You need to start becoming a better negotiator around price if you aren't actually comfortable with talking about ROI. All right, next step. I want you to start to practice trading and not conceding, okay? If there's truly budget pressure, you do not discount for anything, nothing at all, right? Maybe instead you can restructure longer term commitments, maybe a multi-year agreement is what they actually are willing to agree to, or maybe a reduced scope in the product, or maybe an adjusted seat count, right? Or maybe a phased rollout. Whatever it is, discounting without trade erodes value. So you want to make sure you're discounting with structure that protects the value. And step 5, I need you to bring in the right stakeholders, right? So if procurement is driving this, your executive sponsor may not even know that procurement is driving a discount, right? Bringing them in. Make sure procurement and executive sponsors are on the same call so that they truly understand and see the value of your product and service. And you may also need to do an executive alignment call as well with procurement along for the ride. So maybe you also need to pull in your VP of customer success to speak to their VP or whatever it is, right? Like an exec to exec conversation. Whatever it is, make sure you have the right people involved and that it's not just procurement. Because again, procurement's job is to save money and they're always just going to negotiate a discount. But you have worked with a ton of other people all year and you need to make sure their voices are heard by procurement as well. But remember, you need to stay at the center of all of this and make sure the strategy is around ROI and value and not about discounting. Because the thing is, even in my career, I had tons of discount conversations. And early in my career, I had a 6-figure account up for renewal, and they emailed asking for a 25% discount due to budget cuts. And honestly, old me panicked tons when I got that email. But instead, I should have scheduled a call. I should have asked them what had changed. And if I did that, I would have figured out, it turned out that their CFO had mandated cuts across the board. So instead of talking about features, I should have walked them through the revenue that they had expanded that year directly tied to our product usage. And then I should have asked the one question where if we were not part of your tech stack next year, what would be at risk? That really brings into question, hey, I get you want a discount, but what would it be like if you didn't have us at all, right? And that sort of question is what leads to your customer, your executive at your customer, really rethinking if that discount and that discount conversation is worth it, right? And when I did ask that question of my customer, the VP said we would lose visibility into half of our pipeline performance. And you know what? When I brought that question up and that moment really hit my VP and they really started to resonate with the impact and value of my product and service, they realized it was never about price. It was just an internal justification conversation. And we ended up not discounting 25%. We did agree to a smaller adjustment in exchange for a 2-year commitment, but that is the difference between reacting and leading a negotiation when it comes to discounting and renewal. And I always like to connect everything we do in customer success back to real life examples. And if you know me and if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know I love a good metaphor. And let me give you an example of walking into a luxury hotel, right? Let's say you go and stay at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. It's a known company. And if you stay at the Ritz-Carlton anywhere in the world, it's a super fancy luxury company. And if you go in and you ask for a 30% discount at checkout, they're not going to immediately say, yes, let's just give you a discount. They will remind you of the experience, the service, the value delivered, and they are going to protect their positioning about being a highly sought after, highly exclusive luxury experience. And they're going to remind you that the price is worth it. And let me just say, your product deserves the same level of commitment that Ritz-Carlton gives to its price and to its brand. All right, here is your weekly challenge because it is a solo episode, and I want you to make sure that everything you listen to on this podcast is tactical and practical. So here is a challenge. I want you to go through your top 5 renewal accounts, all right? Whether it's for the next month or quarter, I want you to go through them. And for each one, I want you to write down one quantified outcome they achieved. one executive level goal you are aligned to, one risk if they did not renew, right? If you cannot answer one of these three things, you are vulnerable to a discount conversation. And if you can answer them, you will be walking into that renewal with confidence, okay? So make sure you prepare ahead of time. All right, we talked about a lot, and we talked about the taboo topic of negotiation and renewals and discounts today. And I just want to quickly recap that when a customer asks for a discount at renewal, do not panic. Do not agree right away. Do not concede immediately. Do not treat it as a pricing issue. I need you to diagnose the root cause. I want you to rethink about the ROI and start to quantify outcomes. And I need you to start trading instead of conceding, right? Like, lead the conversation like a revenue owner. And remember this, price only becomes the focus when your value is unclear. Your job as a modern customer success leader or customer success pro is to make value so undeniably obvious, right? And if this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you could share it with another customer success pro who dreads the renewal season, all right? Make sure you are subscribed to the Customer Success Pro podcast so you never miss a future episode. And if you want to go deeper into revenue success plans, value storytelling, and handling commercial conversations with confidence, then head over to thecustomersuccesspro.com and join our VIP waitlist for RevUp Academy. Because renewals, they're not just about retention. They are about positioning yourself as a strategic revenue leader. And that is exactly who you are becoming because you choose to listen to this podcast. All right, thank you so much for listening to another episode, and I will catch you next week for our next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Customer Success Pro podcast. I hope you picked up something valuable to take back to your team. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took just 10 seconds to leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps more CS pros like yourself discover the show. And creating new episodes takes a lot of work, so leaving a nice review keeps me motivated to keep creating. And don't forget to hit subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcast episodes. I drop a new episode every Wednesday packed with practical tips. And if you've got a topic you'd love for me to cover or want to be a guest on my show, send me a message. All the details are in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. And hey, if this episode helped you, share it with a fellow CSM or CS leader. Remember, sharing is caring. Cheers to your CS journey, and I'll catch you next week for our next episode.